Welcome back to ASJ Doctor Who. Today, this may become part of a new series, I don't know. This is basically just an idea that I had on the fly like 5 minutes ago. I just rewatched a couple of Jodie Whittaker episodes. It gave me the idea to perhaps maybe rate all the episodes of each Doctor's era. I thought I'll start with 13 because she's the most recent Doctor. So I thought we'd start with her and then work our way all the way back to the first Doctor. If I enjoy making this video and it does well enough, I might go backwards and do each Doctor in like a reverse order. We can make this another series on the channel perhaps. I don't know, it's a nice idea I thought. But yeah, today we're going to do rating every 13th Doctor episode. So here we are, Doctor Who 13th Doctor episodes, all tier list. So this goes all the way from The Woman Who Fell to Earth up to The Power of the Doctor. One thing I want to note is Series 13 seems to be all in order, but for some reason Series 11 and 12 are all jumbled up, which is very annoying, which means I'm going to have to look and find each episode in the correct order, which is going to be very annoying, but hey ho. And no, I'm not going to be one of those butthurt haters who just puts every single episode in not canon or bad. In fact, I'm going to remove the not canon section because I believe every single story in Doctor Who, in the Whoniverse, is canon in some way or another. So here we go, starting from The Woman Who Fell to Earth. I'm going to put that in good, I think. In terms of opening stories for a new era and a new Doctor, it's pretty solid, although it's pretty far from being a truly memorable or truly great episode, you know? But then, you know, introductory stories to new Doctors and new eras tend to play a little bit on the safer side, but that's not really a bad thing, because it's a good way to get a footing on where you are with this whole new part of the show, you know? The Ghost Monument, I'm also going to put that in good. A lot of people seem to not like the Ghost Monument very much, but personally I think it's a pretty solid episode. A few iffy points here and there, but otherwise I really like it. Rosa, of course, has to go up as one of the greatest of this era. It's an absolutely amazing episode. Really proud of the production team for going as far as they did with some of the racism aspects in this episode, given how it's supposed to be showing off how horrible it could be in that place and time. So yeah, it's going to go up as one of the greatest. And yeah, Arachnids in the UK. That's a really bad episode. First episode we're going to put in bad, that I genuinely think is one of the weakest of this era. Probably one of the weakest episodes of the show overall. There's really not a lot that I'm too keen on in Arachnids in the UK. I mean, come on, your main enemies are giant mutant spiders, which have been done to death in fiction for since the beginning of time, and our main human villain is the Donald Trump knockoff. Even the plot of a Resident Evil game has more substance than Arachnids in the UK, and I'll leave it at that. The Tsuranga Conundrum, I'm actually going to put it above Arachnids in the UK into the OK tier. This one's really hated on for the most part, and a lot of people said it's like the worst of this whole era. But yeah, for me, Tsuranga Conundrum, while it's a bit nah, it's at least still got some cool visuals to it, and hey, I like the subversion of expectations with the villain being this tiny little fucking cute thing that just decides to devour the whole spaceship. It at least has something interesting going for it, which is more than can be said for Arachnids in the UK. Next up, it was Demons of the Punjab. That is a fantastic episode, and it's going to go in the fantastic slot. Really great episode. I really like how, at least in Series 11 historicals, they really tried to tackle a lot of interesting issues, and they really went for the personal and emotional stories in those episodes. Yeah, Rosa and Demons of the Punjab especially. Next up we have, what was Series 11, Episode 7? Oh, Kablam. That's really embarrassing that I forgot Kablam. I literally just finished watching that episode 20 minutes before recording this video, and I forgot it. That's not me saying it's a bad episode. I think it's an okay episode, actually. I'm going to put Kablam in okay, but it's definitely higher than Tsuranga Conundrum, even though I'm putting it in the same slot. I think Kablam for me just sort of teeters on the line between okay and good. There's a nice idea to it, and it's a pretty solid episode and a solid story, but it's nothing. I'd say the premise overall, to begin with, wasn't really the strongest. It's a nice premise, but it's nothing that's really that high up in terms of cool ideas, you know? I mean, Space Amazon is an interesting idea, but once you get into the workings of it, it wasn't the most interesting episode, but it's still better than Saranga Conundrum. Certainly better than Arachnids in the UK. Let's see, next up was The Witchfinders, if I can find it on this mess of a freaking list. Where the hell is it? I can't find The Witchfinders, there we go. I'm going to put The Witchfinders in good. I think it's a really solid historical story. Yeah, I think it's one of the better ones from Series 11, generally speaking. I quite like it. I love the sort of atmosphere and the mood that it's going for. Like, I just love seeing like autumn/winter themed woodland type settings, you know? I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but yeah, Witchfinders is going in the good category. Then we have It Takes You Away, which is probably my favourite episode of Series 11 besides Resolution. So It Takes You Away is going to go into the greatest for me. I just love that episode. I think the setting of Norway is quite an exotic location for Doctor Who. The whole concept of the conscious universe being lonely is a fucking brilliant idea. I just love the episode overall for being one of the most imaginative and inventive concepts in Doctor Who's history. So it's going to go in the greatest for me. And then we come to the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos, which is probably the most disappointing finale in all of modern Doctor Who. It's like the King's Demons of the modern era. Like, the King's Demons was a really disappointing finale to season 20 of Classic Who. Although at least with that we had the Five Doctors a few months later to make up for it. Yeah, Battle of Ranskorav Kolos is really disappointing as the finale, so it's going to go in the bad category. Next up we have Resolution, which I'm going to put in fantastic. I think it's one of the strongest Dalek stories that we've ever had. Say what you will about the Chibnall era, I think his festive special Dalek stories were some of the strongest out of his entire run. Bloody good story overall, really strong script. And I love the idea of them doing a slightly less explored concept in Doctor Who of having the Dalek out of its casing for an extended period of time to show just how dangerous the Dalek mutants are themselves without all their high-tech weaponry and armour and powered machinery and all that crap. Definitely tied with It Takes You Away as my favourite stories of Series 11. And now we're on to Series 12. So Series 12 starting with Spyfall Part 1. Now it says Spyfall Parts 1 and 2 as separate episodes on here, but I'm going to combine them together into one story for this. And Spyfall for me is going to go in... You know, fuck it, I'm going to put Spyfall, both parts, into the greatest, because I genuinely think that it is one of the strongest Jodie Whittaker era stories overall. And then we have Orphan 55. Now, I didn't mind Orphan 55 when it first broadcast. Most episodes I actually quite like upon first broadcast, but then some of them I do rewatch after a little while, and my opinion does change, and Orphan 55 is definitely a story that has happened with. I liked it on first broadcast, and I did read a lot of people's negative criticisms of it. And then I got Series 12 on DVD and gave it a rewatch, and my god, how did I enjoy that episode the first time round? Like, it's okay. As an idea, I like it, even if the premise itself is a little bit contrived once you know the plot twist and reveal right at the end. The Dregs, I think, are a genuinely cool design for a Doctor Who villain, if perhaps a little overused in this episode, so you get kind of desensitised to them. Something that I noticed a lot more on my rewatch was, my god, the pacing is all over the place in this one, and I don't know what it was. It's weird because Ed Heim wrote my favourite story of Series 11, It Takes You Away, and then he comes back in Series 12 and writes this garbage heap. I don't know whether that was his fault, maybe just jumping the shark and phoning it in when it came to writing the script, or whether there was some kind of interference in the production or post-production stage, I don't know, but either way, Orphan 55 just comes across as a real mess of an episode in terms of pacing and just the events that are happening, and everything about it feels very clunky. And then of course there's the incredibly ham-fisted environmental message at the end. Now Doctor Who's always had messages about where, even as far back as the 60s, a lot of the episodes have had deeper messages about, you know, societal issues. We've had a lot of environmental based episodes before, like The Green Death is a good example, but they're always done a lot more subtly, or at least more subtly than the ending of this fucking story anyway. So yeah, Orphan 55 is going in bad. So next up, it is Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. I'm going to put in good, actually. I think that's a pretty good episode. While it may be a pretty run-of-the-mill story in terms of, you know, what you'd expect from Doctor Who, it was really well done. Like, I remember when I watched it the first time, I thought to myself, this episode would be pretty solid and not at all out of place in, like, the Russell era, or the Russell's first era, at least. Hey, I'd take a really well-made run-of-the-mill story than Arachnids, Ranskorav, Colossal or Orphan 55 any day. And next up we have Fugitive of the Judoon, which, I mean, it's got to go in the greatest. It's just such a fantastic episode. From the return of the Judoon, to the Jack reveal, to the Fugitive Doctor reveal itself, which is one of the most groundbreaking moments in all of Doctor Who. Think what you will about the payoff from that reveal later on in the series, but in the moment, that is an episode I could re-watch pretty much on a loop until the day I die. And I don't say that about a lot of Doctor Who stories. Next up, we've got Praxeus, which I think's going to go in... I'm going to put it in okay, but I'm going to put it as a kind of a higher okay, kind of like Kablam. I like the premise of it, but I think there's just something missing. Like, I think what it was missing was a proper, like, tangible threat that you could sort of see and interact with. Like, it's an episode about an alien virus being accidentally leaked on Earth. The closest that we have to a villain is Suki, who's just an alien that looked like a human that was trying to sort something out with the virus, and those hazmat suit people. That's as close as we get to an actual villain. I guess you count the swarms of zombie birds, which is just straight out of Resident Evil. That's 2 Resident Evil references I made in this video, and that is a new record for me. But yeah, Praxeus, while I think it's a pretty decent idea for a story, and I kind of like it, there's just something missing, and I think having a more substantial villain presence in there besides space virus, zombie birds, hazmat suit people, and random woman alien, I think would have made it a bit better. Can You Hear Me is a bad episode. I'm afraid to say it. Can You Hear Me was one of the few times I've watched a Doctor Who episode and I've actually really disliked it upon first viewing. Now, as I said before when I was talking about Orphan 55, most Doctor Who episodes, regardless of what my opinion of them ends up being over time, and regardless of what the general consensus of those episodes is from the general fan base, personally, I usually quite like an episode when it first airs, regardless of the quality. But Can You Hear Me was one of the very rare times where even the first time watching it, I was thinking, my god, this episode sucks. One of the stories I think is actually a proper dull episode from the Whittaker era, and this is coming from somebody who actually really enjoys it for the most part. Absolute wasted potential with the return of the Eternals, who haven't been seen since the mid-80s. Could have been an interesting story with it being set in ancient Syria. Like, that's quite an interesting location. I'm sure there was some cool stuff you could have done with that, but no, it's just this one random castle hospital from like the 14th century. Barely a part of it. Random fucking werewolf beast monster thing. What was the point of that thing again? I don't even know. The Haunting of Villa Diodati, I'm going to put that in fantastic. Great little horror story, really love it. Love the idea of a Frankenstein, half-damaged Cyberman roaming around in some historical setting, being some kind of like horror villain kind of esque thing. Really like it. Ascension of the Cybermen, I'm going to put that in fantastic as well, because I honestly think that was a really good story. Like, in terms of Cybermen stories, that one was pretty intense, you know, a story about the Cybermen hunting down the remnants of the human race. Not really been done before, has it? And I think they did a pretty good job of it. The Timeless Children, I'm not sure about this one. Parts of it are a bit iffy, but then other parts of it I find really interesting. I think as an episode, it's really good, but because it has to juggle the Timeless Child reveal as well, I don't know, that may bring it down a bit. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, to be honest. And I personally don't mind the Timeless Child reveal. I think it's an interesting development, but I don't really know. I'm gonna put the Timeless Children in good for now, because I think as an episode, I think it was quite enjoyable, but the Timeless Child reveal kind of muddies the water a bit with how it plays out, but yeah, I don't know. And then we go to Revolution of the Daleks, which I'm gonna put in, you know, I'm gonna put it in okay, I think. It's another one of those high okay ones, but I don't think it's really the most amazing episode. There's a lot of flaws in there, while it's quite enjoyable as well. I find it to be the weakest of the 3 Chibnall-era Dalek stories, personally, and I don't know. I feel like they completely wasted Jack in this. It feels like he was just here to be an excuse to break the Doctor out of prison, and then that was it. I mean, like, he was there to be a prison break, spout some exposition about the Doctor's past, and then just, I don't know, just be an extra person for them to try and spread the lines out between, and there was already too many characters there to begin with. Plus, they never killed Jack in this episode. You know, the character who is known for being immortal and always coming back to life no matter how much you try to kill him. He even has that line where they're about to escape and he's like, I'm Jack and I'm immortal. But then they never kill him and have him resurrect in this story. Jack, in an episode, going against the Daleks. You need to kill him at least once and revive him. There is no point putting Jack in an episode, having him say, "I'm immortal," and then never actually showing it on screen. That is actually the epitome of Chibnall's problem with the whole tell, don't show thing. I think that kind of encapsulates that really well. But yeah, Revolution of the Daleks, it was okay, but there's a lot of flaws in it, I think. And now we have Series 13 and the specials. Flux is an interesting one. There's some really good episodes and a few naff ones, and then the specials afterwards are, well, let's just say they're a bit of a mixed bag. I've not had a chance to rewatch any of Series 13 yet since it first broadcast, so this is all going off memory, but from what I remember, the Halloween Apocalypse, I think, looking back, I'm going to put it in okay as well. In terms of a series opener, it was very eventful, but I think it had some problems in that it was more concerned with setting up the next 5 episodes of the Flux story arc than it was of actually telling its own story to get us off a jumping off point for this series. But there's some nice moments in there though with Dan. But yeah, the episode suffered from having to set up the Flux story arc rather than being its own thing, and I think that hampered it a bit. War of the Sontarans, I'm putting that up as one of the greatest. That was actually a phenomenal episode. From the redesign of the Sontarans, which I think is incredible, to the pacing and the tension and everything about it, I think that is genuinely one of the greatest episodes from this era. Once Upon Time, I'm going to put it in good. It was one of the more slow burn episodes of the series. I really like how it sort of ties into and sort of hints at some of the expanded media events potentially regarding like the ancient times of Gallifrey and all that with the flashback sequences on the planet Time. I like all of that because I'm a big raging fanboy. If not really into the wider lore of Doctor Who, then I guess you wouldn't enjoy it as much, but personally it's something that I quite appreciated. Probably one of the weaker ones overall from Series 13, but I think personally I place it at kind of a middle tier for the series overall, so I'm going to put it right down the middle and into the good category. Village of the Angels, that was a fantastic episode. Absolutely loved it. Really good use of Weeping Angels. Proper good Doctor Who story, that. Survivors of the Flux was okay. Probably the weakest story from the whole of the Flux arc, to be completely honest. You know how the episodes that come right before the finale are usually just dull filler, there to just pad things out until the big finale comes along? Yeah, this is one of those episodes that really feels like the embodiment of that, and I don't really enjoy it all that much. The Vanquishers, I'm going to put in... Now this is a problem because The Vanquishers, the 6th and final part of Flux, while on paper I like it, it's definitely where you get to see that yes, Flux was originally going to be a 10-part arc like Series 11 and 12, but then due to COVID restrictions cutting down filming time and all that, really it's screamingly obvious that was the case when you look at The Vanquishers. For a series finale, it is so all over the place. So many unanswered questions. Horrible use of Kate Stewart in this. You may as well not even been there. Yeah, I'm going to put The Vanquishers in okay, and that's only being generous. It was a mess of a finale. Could have been so much more, but as it stands, not great. So now we get to the final 3 specials of Whittaker's era, and we have Eve of the Daleks. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm going to put it in fantastic. I think it was a great little small-scale episode that was just generally really fun. Legend of the Sea Devils. Bad. It is bad. It is the worst. I think Legend of the Sea Devils, worst episode of the Whittaker-Chibnall era by far. Great in concept, brought down a bit by some of the usual flaws of Chris Chibnall's scripts, and completely and utterly annihilated into oblivion by the god-awful editing. I'm convinced the editing is responsible for at least 50% of the issues in Legend of the Sea Devils, probably 60-70 at a push. Like, I thought The Vanquishers had, like, editing and pacing problems, but my god, Legend of the Sea Devils is the biggest steaming mess I've ever witnessed, and that's saying something. Quite possibly in my top 5 worst Doctor Who stories ever, and that is an achievement. And then we have Power of the Doctor, which I think, honestly, one of the greatest, definitely one of the best of Whittaker's era. Is it basically just a massive fan wank for 90 minutes? Yeah, but it's bloody enjoyable as hell, so, I mean, it's got to be up there. I mean, what's not to like? Ace and Tegan coming back, cameos from Mel, of all people, Joe as well, who's great to see, Ian, motherfucking Ian Chesterton with the original actor. William Russell is a fucking legend. Of course, cameos from the 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th Doctors. I'd have settled for any of them, but especially seeing Paul McGann coming back even for a minor role. There's a lot I can say about it, but I think for now, we're going to wrap this thing up here. So that's my 13th Doctor stories ranking. Every 13th Doctor episode rated from the greatest, fantastic, good, okay and bad. So what did you think of my list? If you agreed completely, which is very unlikely, then leave a like. If you agreed even somewhat, then leave a like. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to comment any of your own rankings of this era down in the comments below. If I feel like it, then I may do more of these. Maybe go for like the 12th Doctor and then work our way backwards. So who knows? But until then, new video in about a week. See you all then. Bye bye.